station. This is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Ready, ready, ready. Bring it.
AccuWeather, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Bernie Rayno with AccuWeather. How do you hear me?
Bernie, we have you loud and clear. Great to have you with us on the International Space Station today. And we are curious, how is the weather down there?
Well, the weather is fantastic. You're missing a little spring fever across most of the country here. But you know what? I think the view where you are is much better than me.
Yes, we do have a good view. You're probably right about that.
All right, I'm going to give us a countdown, and we're going to start here in 3, 2, 1. Joining us now are NASA astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore. They're coming to us about 250 miles above Earth from the International Space Station. Thank you both for taking the time to speak with us.
Bernie, it's our pleasure. It's wonderful to have you join us on the International Space Station today, and great to share some time with you.
All right, I have to ask you, is there a typical day on the space station, and how would you explain the experience?
Station, your mic is off.
Hey, Bernie. So sorry about that. Every day is a little bit different, and haven't had a PAO event for a couple days, so I forgot to turn the mic on. So every day is a little bit different up here. You know, you get up in the morning, you look at your timeline and see what the planners have in store for you, and you get to float from one place to another. This, where we are right now, is the Japanese laboratory. It's all full of science. If you take a right, go down the hall, there's a U.S. laboratory, and to the left over there is an airlock. So you could be getting ready to do a spacewalk. If you take a right over across from the airlock is the gym and the bathroom. You could be working and doing some maintenance on the equipment, or working on the toilet, or just working out for that matter. And then right near the gym is the cupola, so you could be looking out the window and taking some wonderful pictures of our amazing planet.
And Butch, you've both done spacewalks. Now, Butch, can you describe what it is like to leave the space station and go into space?
I can share what the experience is like, but I cannot adequately describe it. That's really impossible. I mean, you think about, you put on literally a one-man space capsule, because that's what those spacesuits are, and we go out into the vacuum of space and work. And the view, again, is spectacular looking out of the window, but you think about a 180-degree bubble helmet and seeing the view from that vantage point and knowing that you're the only two people in the entire universe that's doing something at that, doing that specific thing at that moment. It's very, very special. Very difficult to put into words, like I said, but special, spectacular are a couple of adjectives that come to mind.
And Suni, you broke the record for total spacewalk time by a woman astronaut. How did that moment make you feel?
Well, honestly, Bernie, just like Butch was saying, you're out there, there's only two of you, you got a lot of tasks on your mind. To be honest with you, I wasn't really thinking about it. The things that we're doing were a little bit more important at that moment, right? But I had heard about it, I had an idea. Both of us have been in the astronaut office long enough to be part of the construction of the space station, and that meant that previous flights I had done a couple spacewalks, so I knew I was getting a lot of time, so I had an inkling, but not till afterwards when I got a really nice congratulatory message from Peggy Whitson. It's just nice to be in the same arena with her. She's just pretty amazing, so that's pretty cool, and I'm honored to be amongst that group who's done a bunch of spacewalks and hopefully have added to the next steps for us in spacewalking, maybe back on the moon.
And what scientific research and experiments are you working on?
So, Bernie, I was mentioning this is the Japanese laboratory. We are surrounded by all sorts of science. You can see there's an airlock right behind us. We put payloads out through this airlock onto essentially a patio with a Japanese robotic arm. Some of those experiments look into space. Some of them look it down on the Earth and take data. Right next to me are some astrobees, which fly around in this module. We use that for guidance, navigation, and control algorithms with schools, with universities, with companies to come up with new innovative ideas like moving trash in space, because there's a lot of space debris up there. Right to my left is a life science glove box. We've been using that for DNA sequencing and stem cell research. A little further behind the camera is another place where we've had animals and plants in centrifuge to figure out how we're going to be able to grow plants when we go to the moon or onto Mars, how we can make our own food. And there's all sorts of tech demos throughout the space station that we work on, sometimes as lab techs, sometimes as maintenance guys, just to help us figure out how we're going to make those next space stations, like I said, maybe on the moon, maybe as we lead our way into going to Mars.
And do you experience space weather? Were there solar storms and other changes during your time in the ISS?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please, Bernie? My mistake.
No problems. Do you experience space weather? Were there solar storms and other changes during the time during your time in the ISS?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, this week, the aurora obviously comes from solar energy traveling through the cosmos and going around those Van Allen belts and entering our atmosphere at the poles have been spectacular. I mean, the colors, the green, the reds, even pink and purple in certain parts of the atmosphere are just amazing. We also see noctilucent clouds at certain times of the year in the northern hemisphere during the wintertime and the southern hemisphere during the summertime for us and the wintertime for them in the southern hemisphere. And they are beautiful. Comets, just a huge array of different sights that we're able to see, the Milky Way, the galaxy, galaxies themselves in the far distance. It's truly thrilling as well.
Now, obviously, you both have a bird's eye view of the Earth. Now, can you see meteorological effects on Earth from the ISS?
Absolutely. You know, when we came up here in the summertime, of course, it was getting a little bit heated in the Atlantic, so we saw all sorts of hurricanes, you know, making their way, you know, from Africa, coming across the ocean, some of them going up in the Gulf, in the Gulf Stream, some of them crossing into, you know, the Gulf. So, yeah, we saw all sorts of activity. We also see a lot of lightning, you know, in different parts of the world. Particularly over Africa and Asia, and we get the bird's eye view of that, and some of the really amazing photography as of late. We've been able to see red sprites and blue jets coming out of lightning clouds with some really great photography techniques that folks have. So it's been amazing to see what weather is going on around our planet.
And what led you each to become an astronaut? Was it a childhood goal?
I think as much as it is, probably a high percentage of kids that see, you know, floating and doing those type of things that are not normal, that kind of pique your curiosity. And so certainly I think as much as any child it was. But for me personally, you know, I had that patriotic tug, do my part for my country. I went into the Navy, was fortunate enough to select a jet aircraft and fly off aircraft carriers. Eventually the test pilot went that route, and then kind of had the wickets you needed to be selected at that time as a shuttle pilot. So it was through those stages of life that kind of brought that into myself. So I'll let Suni share as well.
So my situation is a little bit different. You know, I just never grew up thinking that was what I was going to do. I really loved animals and thought, you know, I want to be a veterinarian. But I also joined the Navy, a little bit more happenstance, and I became a helicopter pilot and a test pilot. And that, at that point in time, later in life, my mid-20s, was the first time I met an astronaut or even figured out really what they did. And there was a lot of similarities. And I had some friends who were testers, you know, like Butch. And, you know, this was a pretty neat career. And I thought to myself, wow, like why not put the application in and try? So a little bit different, but we both ended up at the same place.
And your mission on the ISS has been longer than initially planned. What will you remember about this experience?
Oh my, how long you got, Bernie? I mean, goodness. Laughing around the dinner table, around the lunch table, just the camaraderie that we share. I think that's the big thing. Seeing Suni and Nick come in from their spacewalk when they finished, and just great to have them back inside, because there are some perils associated with spacewalks, can be, and to have them back inside was a special moment as well. Again, I'll let Suni share as well.
Yeah, this is a really unique experience, and there's just so much that's to it. Of course, we came up here thinking we'd be only here for a little while and do our test flight, but then the added time here has allowed us to do all the science experiments that I was talking about, spacewalks, and like Butch said, people that we had not planned to be here with, really great friends that we have had around the dinner table, have had some great times together. We've gone through a lot of holidays together. We've learned how to make cakes up here for each other, so it's been a lot of fun, actually.
And your return to Earth expected to be later this month. What are you missing most, and what are you looking forward to when you get back?
I think I miss the ministry aspect through my local church. That's something I miss, obviously. Of course, family, that kind of goes without saying. I mean, that's pretty much a no-brainer there. You would understand that. But I think those ministry opportunities, sharing in the community, being with neighbors, just, I think that up here you kind of miss like the smell of fresh cut grass and those type of things that you kind of take for granted a little bit, and you don't have that up here. So looking forward to just some of those basics.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I actually really do miss weather. We have a pretty solid day up here of 75 degrees, whatever, 40% humidity every day. So it would be nice to actually have some changes in the weather. I'm a New Englander, so I like the changes of the seasons. I really miss, of course, my family, but I miss my dogs. And part of the reasons I miss my dogs is I get to take them on a walk. And when I take them on a walk, sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's windy, sometimes it's hot. But I'm looking forward to feeling all that weather from Earth.
Is there a message you want to share for people to hear directly from you while you're in space?
So why we're in space? Well, we are part of a bigger experiment. All of this, understanding the International Space Station and the opportunities that are here, so that we can keep exploring. So as humans, we can keep exploring, going back to the moon and onto Mars. This is just part of that. We came up here on an experimental spacecraft, and that's part of that whole exploration, moving forward and doing the next things. And so we're just part of that. And it was great that we were prepared and ready to come and live and work on the space station. And we've added, I think, our part to the next steps in this process.
Yeah, I'd also say there are laboratories around the globe. There's laboratories at the seas, below the surface of the seas, and of course we have the laboratory here. And that shared, as Suni said, that shared exploration mentality and opportunities for the betterment of mankind is what all this exploration is about, wherever it's taking place. And to be able to take part in that, especially in such a wonderfully special place like this, is it's just a blessing.
Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore from the International Space Center. I'm honored to speak with you both, and thank you for just sharing your experiences with us here today.
Bernie, it's been our pleasure. Thank you so much for your interest in space and what we're doing up here, and hope more and more kids will get involved as well.
I'm sure they will. You guys are blazing the pathward forward.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes our event.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.